Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have a special guest with us today. His name is Darin Mangum. A bunch of people call him Magnum because he's this high performance weapon. He's the CEO of Zulu Inc. So we're going to talk about sanitation and innovation because that's quite important. It's quite a big problem in this world. A bunch of people discuss about clean water, but that water is not so clean if you crap in it. Long story short, so sanitation is a top priority, and I was made aware of that by Mr. Bill Gates a couple of years ago. Quite interested by the topic, and I really want to contribute because this shit, for lack of a better word, brings a lot of problem to this world, a lot of diseases. So I am eager to get into it. Darin is also managing partner at Mangum and Associates, by the way. So in Puerto Rico right now, so chilling at the beach at least 6 months a year.
Right.
This podcast is brought to you by potfire.com. If you want to start or scale or be invited to podcasts like this one, if you want to get sponsors, if you want to learn from folks like Darin, I mean, Darin and I wouldn't have met without this podcast. Let's call it that way. So that is just fascinating. You grow your network. You also grow your network because you get leads and clients from these podcasts. Podfire.com for that. Darin, welcome to the pod. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your businesses?
Yeah, Charles, thanks for having me. I tell people I'm a securities lawyer by day and a toilet entrepreneur by night.
Toilet cleaner.
Yeah, and toilet cleaner. Yeah. And the legal profession and the toilet profession have a lot in common, right? So dealing with a lot of shit. It's very related. I've been practicing securities law for the past 23 years. I have a successful international securities practice we're based in Puerto Rico. But my true passion is Zulu, which is a B Corp benefit corporation we set up a couple of years ago. We set up two entities. One is a 501c3 nonprofit called Zulu Humanitarian, and its main focus is to build toilets in third world countries and different places where, as you were saying, Charles, a lot of people don't know that about close to 40% of the world's population don't have a safe, clean place to go at all. It's kind of hard to fathom that number. But you mentioned Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and you look at the UN self-development or development goal number 6. It's very much documented. And I don't know if we're going to get to 100% clean sanitation by 2030. That's the current goal. They may need to kick that down the road a little bit. But at Zulu, we're we're all about bringing awareness to the issue, as well as we feel that social enterprise, social impact has a lot more ability to actually get things done. I mean, you could continue to give the government money to try to do things, but we think that entrepreneurship and social enterprise is the way to go to really solve a lot of these issues. And what Zulu does is so I mentioned the nonprofit Zulu Humanitarian, Zulu Inc. And its subsidiary Zulu Media. We try to we have a podcast as well, the Zulu Poodcast. Play on words. It's funny, we were going to call it the Poocast, but my assistant said, "Hey, I don't think people want to have the idea of people flinging poo on the show, right? It's not a Poocast, it's a Poodcast." So, anyway, but
I prefer Poodcast.
Poodcast, okay. So we highlight innovators in the space, different people that are different technologies that are coming to play, and also a lot of organizations that the toilet space is kind of a fun space because you think there'd be a lot of competition, and there is, but there seems to be a kind of brotherhood, sisterhood sort of mentality, because it's a huge problem, right? And there's not one organization that's going to really take it down, and provide it. It's going to be it is a global effort, and we have lots of partners, including like World Toilet Organization out of Singapore, and we were one of the sponsors of the World Toilet Summit in Nigeria last year. We're certainly doing what we can. And we recently launched the Zulu Marketplace, where different products, people can buy different products, and a portion of those proceeds go toward Zulu humanitarians toilet building projects. Right now, we're currently very active in India right now, which is kind of ground zero when you talk about the global sanitation crisis. They still estimate 600 million people don't have adequate sanitation, and that's despite what a lot of the Indian government has really pushed to try to encourage change of habits. Open defecation obviously is the biggest social issue that they're trying to correct. But you have a government that comes in and builds a bunch of toilet blocks in a city or in a slum, and that's great for a little while, but fast forward a year later, 2 years later, and they're not functioning. You got livestock living in the toilets, and people are storing their firewood in there. They're really not used like they intended. And we really believe that individual, for when if it comes to safety, like when keeping girls in school, or keeping women safe, or children safe, these public toilet blocks are not the safest place to be. So our approach is to put an individual toilet in each household there, and so we've been doing that. So anyway, I could keep talking, Charles, for another hour, but I don't know what I don't want to
I have
run
a
away with
front
the
end
show.
question for you before we get to the back end. Is
Yeah.
it accurate to say that you made a shit ton of money with being a securities lawyer?
Yeah, I mean, securities law firm, very lucrative law practice. We take companies public. Most of our clients are raising capital under private offering exemptions. I think it's last I checked, it was like a couple like $2 trillion of capital were raised last year under Regulation D. It's such a huge, and anybody that's raising capital needs to obviously comply with the securities laws, and that's what we do. We work with entrepreneurs, people that are, again, whatever you're raising capital for, whether it's a cryptocurrency project or real estate project or oil and gas, or you name it. They obviously, the securities laws apply. Full and fair disclosure to investors is the name of the game. And yeah, we built over the past 23 years a successful. We've got a securities law practice. We've got clients, all over the country, nationwide, internationally as well. And yeah, so that certainly pays the bills, and
And
keeps
some
my wife
more.
keeps my wife happy, right? But if it is what it is, right? It's I've been what really kind of gets me out of bed is, what am I going to do with Zulu today, and what's going on with Zulu? It seems to I don't know, just gets my juices going a little more than the law practice. I still am very active running the law practice law firm, and but Zulu is sort of the passion project. And
But I think you need to crack the capitalist code before you get to social. Are you beachfront, by the way, in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, we're in right in San Juan.
Yeah, so that's good money. The question is it like the classic $1,000 an hour lawyer fee that you charge for that, or is it a percentage? Is it a package? How does it work?
Yeah, we do like a flat fee. Everything's on a flat fee. We will, like, if we are doing like SEC defense, which is kind of, you never know where that's going to go. We'll do an hourly rate, but for the most part, we've been doing it for long enough. We know, hey, we've created like some flat fee packages that are very affordable. Anybody, that's raising capital, you should never, the worst thing is an entrepreneur is trying to save some money and trying, okay, I think I'm going to go wing this on my own and go do it and hope for the best. That's just a recipe for disaster. And I'm not just trying to sell it. I mean, I don't have to hire me, but go find a securities lawyer. Now the problem is, a lot of times securities law firms, I mean, they're not, they're not too entrepreneur friendly. They're not, they charge a boatload of money. We try to create these packages of services that are affordable. And yeah, if you want, we have like kind of a bare bones package that are like, hey, this is at least get you 100% compliant and in the game. Obviously, if you want more white glove treatment and, you want us to be engaged on ongoing, certainly we have a couple of flat fee packages for that. But yeah, there's really no excuse to not have really good, competent securities counsel. And that way, you can sleep at night. You can not worrying, oh crap, I wonder what if the SEC calls me? What would, or what if an investor goes sideways on me? What do I hope, you don't want to just hope for the best because you put so much time and effort into your business. You just don't want to, you just want to make sure all that's locked and taken care of. That way you can focus on your business. You don't have to worry about it.
Because
Anyway.
SBF lawyer with FTX, I believe they were charging like 2 to 5K an hour. So your package, I must guess, if I want to IPO, I'd pay you at least 500K.
Well, as far as no, I mean, if you're doing like a public offering, like if you're taking your company public, I mean, under like Regulation A, for example, legal, I mean, you'd be around 75,000. And then on top of that, you'd have your audit expenses. So if you get with obviously, if you went with a big audit firm, it could be, yeah. I mean, you want to budget around 100,000 to take your company public when you add it all up. But again, like I said, most clients are raising capital in the private equity markets, which nowadays, whether it's like regulation crowdfunding, it really has opened up a new world as far as being able to access non-accredited investors, and obviously Rule 506C has opened the door for public advertising for accredited investors. So there's lots of ways to raise all the capital you need without even going public. Or I mean, yeah, certainly that could be on the horizon, but usually you're going to do it in stages, right? Typically, and a lot of clients, they'll raise all the capital they need under the existing private placement guidelines, so
which is more lucrative. I would guess like being investigated by the SEC would be way more lucrative because that's way more time and way more stress from the entrepreneur. It's like, yeah, save my ass at this point, because my business could go under if you don't.
Yeah.
And let's assume that you do like, yeah, a couple of IPOs per year, like 10, and probably defend 10-ish clients, and you have recurring business on top of that, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of repeat clients that are what we call like serial syndicators. They're raising capital so especially in real estate. We have a lot of real estate related clients because they'll do one acquisition, put together an entity to make that acquisition, and then they'll come back, 3 months, 6 months later. Hey, we've got another project we're doing. So yeah, we have a lot of those as well. So
that's pretty cool. It's a cool business, but yeah, I get you. I wanted to start my career as a lawyer myself, and I'm glad that I didn't, because it would have taken like a part of me for quite some time and would have sort of removed the social part. It can be hard being a lawyer and constantly arguing. So how did you get to the poo part? How did you get a fascination with that? You probably read an article or a documentary and was like, holy shit, I need to fix that.
Right. Holy shit is right. Yeah. I was in Turkey a number of years ago and traveling through the airport, and I picked up a book by Rose George. She's a London Times award-winning journalist. She wrote a book about the problem called The Big Necessity. And you can on the cover has got a roll of toilet paper. It's actually like a used up roll of toilet paper, and it sort of caught my attention. I'm like, what is this book? And I picked it up and read it on the flight back, and it just sort of shocked me, and kind of, how something just kind of grabs you and like, holy crap. I mean, this is a big issue, and something that really resonated with me, and saying, hey, I again, I've got a successful law practice. I could probably spend, my off hours golfing or whatever, do a lot of sailing as well down in the Caribbean. But this issue, so I couldn't, it's one of those things you can't, you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about it, and you're going to sleep at night, you're thinking about it. It's like, okay, I gotta do something about this. And so, yeah, that's kind of the genesis of Zulu. We call Rose George's book the Zulu Bible, because she really lays out the global sanitation crisis. She actually took a 2-year sabbatical and went around the world and experienced different toilet situations in different countries, ranging from China to India to her hometown of London, and just really kind of gave a broad picture of the issue. In fact, we've since we launched Zulu and we launched the Poodcast, we had her on the show, which was kind of like a full circle kind of moment. Like, oh wow, okay, you're the Rose, you're the one that kind of got this ball rolling. And so we were really excited to have her on the show. And she still very much actively writes. I mean, she writes on a bunch of different topics. She'd probably be a great person to interview for your podcast, Charles. But anyway, she was the catalyst behind Zulu, and I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I felt like, okay, look, what I know, we can definitely set up a nonprofit to help it that way. But I didn't want to do the same model of going out asking for donations. I mean, everybody's doing that, asking, hey, donate. And we have a number of, institutional donors that support Zulu, including my law firm and other that help with that. But we really, the Zulu Inc. was meant to be, hey, if we can create a benefit corporation that can really, whether it's through media, whether it's through selling products that could help support the nonprofit. I think it's still a viable business model to, hey, you can do social impact at the same time you can make money, right? It's because, you can do both, and that's really the cool thing about the benefit corp. And that's why we set it up as a B Corp, a benefit corporation in the first place. And that's where we can kind of go from there. So, anyway.
So you have cash and donations, you have the podcast for the awareness. How do you split your global strategy of impact?
That's a great question. We're kind of still feeling our way. I mean, I mean, the Poodcast is something that we have not, we haven't really monetized it yet. I mean, we've talked to some partners, some potential some guests that we've had on the show. They've expressed some interest. Hey, why don't we sponsor some episodes, and we can so we're still evolving on that front, and the marketplace is sort of evolving as well. Different kinds of products that it's all the products are somewhat related to toilets and bathrooms, but then again, the feminine hygiene space is a space. When I first got into this, I didn't really realize what an impact toilets have on feminine hygiene and keeping girls in school in a lot of countries. A lot of countries, like in India, once they hit puberty and they start menstruating, then there's no privacy, there's no place to go. They usually just stay home, or they'll drop out at that stage, and that's it's a big issue, right? And so that was brought to our attention, and so we've also included feminine hygiene related products, and a lot of our podcast relates around menstruation and that sort of those issues, right, that are important to that half of the world's population, right? So so again, it's exciting, and it's we're still evolving, right? And so we're open to a lot of ways to collaborate with both private industry and other players in the space. And so in a lot of ways, the Poodcast is a catalyst. We'll have somebody on the show. I'm sure, like you, Charles, you'll have somebody on the show, and that just opens up a new relationship, and then you can certainly look to ways to partner on different projects. That's what as we have a project going in Zambia right now with Mothers Without Borders. We had them on the show. My wife, my wife happened to be on the plane with their CEO, and they struck up a conversation and said, "Hey, you should come on the podcast." And so we had them on the show, and then a couple months later, we're sponsoring a toilet building project in Zambia at a children's school over there. And so we're really like I said, it's such a global issue that there's no. When we first started the podcast, we were thinking, well, who's going to be on this show? I don't know how we're going to get people, but we've got a long line of people. I think we have enough episodes now that I think we've got enough recorded now till we go into December. And so but anyway, so it's exciting and fun. At the end of the day, it's just fun. It's fun it's kind of a funny space. Lots of humor, a lot of, as you can imagine, right? But as far as the impact goes, I mean, a lot of people don't know. You were mentioning earlier, the clean water obviously is a lot sexier than talking about toilets. Clean water gets 8 times the amount of funding, whether it's private funding or public funding, 8 times the amount of funding than toilets and sanitation does, even though a toilet has been shown to have 2.5 times the health benefit to a community or to a family than clean water does. Because you can give them clean water, and hey, here's your clean water, but you're shitting in your water, right? Or you're shitting nearby, and then it gets into the water, and then you're contaminated water, right? So now it's just you got to look at both sides of the coin, and Zulu. What we drink, we drill clean water wells as well. We do a lot of that, but if the toilets aren't there, it's a kind of a short-lived thing. But a lot of people don't want to talk about toilets. Clean water, that sounds exciting, but they don't want to talk about a toilet. But we're looking to change that. I think that's evolving. People are getting more and more comfortable. If we go to dinner, probably 5 minutes into it, we're going to be talking about shit or toilets. So hopefully that doesn't make anybody uncomfortable. So if it does, well, maybe you think about, what are the taboos around the subject? What makes people uncomfortable to talk about? I think more and more people are, open to talking about this topic.
Yeah, I think people are, in part because of the gut microbiome and the biohacking community that understand that talking shit is quite important.
Yeah.
If you analyze your poop, you can get a lot of insights into what's happening in there. The gut microbiome is taking more and more importance, and people are obviously realizing that, there's a lot of wisdom into analyzing this, and the bacteria and all of that. And also, I think people are just realizing that, it's plaguing the world quite literally, and we need to address the problem. I'm checking your partners program here, 2% of total sales. That's quite a lot. It's that would be like in most businesses, probably like I don't know, 50K a year. How did you came up with that program, and who do you have on that program yet?
That's a relatively new program. I mean, it could really be 2%. I mean, number 2 being tied to shit, right? If you're gonna do a number 1 or number 2. Well, number 2, 2% is something somebody can remember, and it really could be 2% of any metric, right? It could be 2% of, it could be 2%, or 2% of our sales of this one particular product up to $10,000, right? Or it could cap out, right? It doesn't have to be some global thing. I mean, for all of your for the whole business, and or it could be like a limited time offer kind of thing. Hey, we're for the next 24 hours, we're going to donate 2% of this one widget, or buy this pen, and we'll donate 2% to Zulu, whatever. It's very open and flexible that way. And so it certainly it's just another way we can certainly engage with like a corporate partner. And so, yeah, I mean, there's lots of different ways. I mean, some people are like, well, I'm just going to donate directly to Zulu Humanitarian. Well, okay, well, great. That's a 100% tax deductible write-off. You can just donate directly to that. There's lots of ways that they can get involved with Zulu. There's not just one way. So what we want to do is create a lot of different ways to interact with people, whether it's through the podcast or through partnering, whether it's through just a donation. So there's lots of ways people can get involved. So, our job is, I think, was to bring awareness to the issue. A lot of people still, I think I read that book by Rose George like 10 years ago, and it's like, a lot of people still, when I throw those statistics out, 40% of the population, what, because, most of the world, we kind of flush it and forget it. It's like, who cares? I just flushed it. And I don't know what happens after that, or until they, do some traveling and they can see some areas like the world, like in India or different places. We were in Nigeria just last November, and yeah, I mean, it's very, very well developed nation, very, everything. But then, just like a couple blocks away, it's, you got little kids, shitting in the street. It's an issue, right? And so I think it's, again, Zulu's we're not the be all and end all. We're just playing our part. And, obviously if we can partner up with other organizations that are doing it, then great,
Let's talk about toilet innovation for a moment. So yeah, while I was speaking to you, I'd say like, yeah, poor girls that need to sit, in there, that's quite horrible. Again, being a man is so much easier. How could we make a system that would make it more hygienic and more usable? Is it by some kind of filter? Is it by burning it? Is it by creating compost? Is it by having a bot kind of change the litter, quote unquote, and I don't know, putting it deep in the ground? Like, what could we do to make using toilet more sanitized and more usable?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we've had a number of professional engineers on the Poodcast that are way more knowledgeable than I am on the topic. But it seems to be the toilets of the future are going to be not necessarily tied to a very expensive, infrastructure like we're accustomed today, right? We're accustomed, hey, if you want to build a new city, you got to build $1 billion wastewater treatment plant to take care of that city, right? And obviously for existing cities with existing sewer systems, with water being the main conduit, you want to just continue to innovate in that space. A lot of the future development of toilets don't involve water at all. It involves the separation of the two, the separation of the feces from the urine, and that way the water supply doesn't get contaminated. It doesn't get in the water system, right? Because that's what's so expensive, is treating the water, right? Getting all the crap out of the water. Whereas if you could separate it too, and also use, we had somebody on the podcast, a couple of organizations, Jenica out of Norway, they through Sanitation-360, they were taking the urine, diverting the urine, and creating fertilizer out of the urine, and then also creating fertilizer out of the poop as well, right? So turning into a resource, right? It never even, a lot of these new developments have these systems in place, and so you're not even tapping into the sewer system, right? You're able just to capture it at the point of production, right? Which is the toilet, and then use that as a commercial resource, right? And so I think that's just and if you're looking at the future, like whether space colonies on Mars or the moon, right? That's like the future, right? If everybody ever watched the movie, I think it's Matt Damon, The Martian, I think, right? He's he's stuck on Mars, right? And he's, growing potatoes out of his own poop, right? Which is very doable, right? And so it's I mean, that's a
Potatoes.
yeah, potatoes, exactly right. And so yeah, so these are the sort of technologies that are coming into the future, and yeah, we're super excited about future innovation. Like the Gates, reinvent the toilet challenge. The issue with the reinvent the toilet challenge, which as great as it is, very, very expensive, right? A lot of these technologies are awesome, but yet, okay, this toilet that you just created is like $100,000 toilet. It got solar panels and all kinds of technology, which is awesome. But so it's a matter of, okay, how do I deliver that sort of simplistic system to the slums of New Delhi, right? Or how do I make that gap? And so Zulu, we try to look at, okay, what are people actually using and doing that's working in that culture, in that society. Well, we're not trying to superimpose some futuristic toilet system on some society. If they're accustomed to a certain way of going to the bathroom, well, you certainly look at those cultures and what resources do they have, right? And okay, because there's what we call low technology, right? Like a lot of the toilets we're building in India, we're using earthworms, right? Earthworms, like these earthworm driven toilets, we call them a soilet. And it breaks down it, the way it's built, it keeps the earthworms that are in the system happy and moist, and as long as you keep putting material in the system, earthworms are happy. They break it down. You walk in there. I was in India a couple of years ago before the pandemic, and we were trying them out. You open the door, it kind of looks like you'd expect like a porta potty smell, and there's no odor. I mean, there's an earthy smell. It smells like freshly turned earth, but there's no odor, there's no stench, there's no flies. It's just all, just the way these systems are built, and the earthworms just break it all down, and the people can use it for fertilizer. Doesn't require a plumber or a plumbing system or wastewater treatment plant. It doesn't require any of that. And so it really elevates these people's level of existence, because they don't have to go to the expensive, dirty pit latrines that are down the road 5 miles. They can have one right in their own home, which is a big deal. So yeah, a lot of low technology is also a big deal.
How do you get more donations? Is my last question. How can we maximize the people giving and donating?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, yeah, certainly if you like what Zulu Humanitarian is doing, you could just always go to Zulu.org, and you can make a donation. Somebody could, if they want to donate one toilet. Our cost, a lot of these areas that they're operating, is around $350 per toilet. And so they could just donate a toilet. They could donate $1, or they can donate, they can do recurring. Hey, I want to donate a toilet a month, right? They could certainly do that, or, whatever they want to do. Right. Our preference would be, that if somebody were to find some product that they normally would buy for themselves, like because who doesn't need toilet paper, or who doesn't need some toilet brush or whatever, right? Oh, well, yeah, you can go buy that on Amazon, or you could certainly buy it, through Zulu.org, and yeah, you're buying it for yourself, but hey, a portion of those proceeds are going to go toward helping somebody else that doesn't have a toilet, so, you know, so that's another way people can get involved. And then of course, if you're a corporate sponsor and if this is a cause, a lot of corporations are like, oh, we're all about breast cancer awareness, and that's awesome, that's great. If global sanitation is an issue that resonates with you and your company, then yeah, we'd love to partner with you on it, and be your kind of your social impact partner, right? And so yeah, there's a lot of ways we can engage, and obviously advertising on the Poodcast. We could certainly have people be a sponsor of the podcast. it's as fun as a podcast is, as you know, Charles, it takes a little money to actually produce those episodes, right? So, certainly if somebody's interested in highlighting their company at the same time, they could certainly sponsor a podcast as well. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways, and there's probably other ways that I haven't thought of yet, but that's where we're at currently.
Maybe we should have started with that, but like, how much people does it affect, like in terms of deaths and diseases that lack of sanitation creates? Like, what's the impact? What are the stats?
Yeah, it's the leading cause of death of when we say cholera, right, which is a waterborne disease. Okay, kills 1.5 million children a year globally, right? Um, in Pakistan, right? Um, Pakistan spends, I don't know. I look at the statistic. It was like 10 times the amount of money on their military as they do on sanitation. But yet 100,000, over 100,000 children in Pakistan die every year of cholera because of sanitation, right? And I guarantee if some country were invading Pakistan and killing 100,000 Pakistani children, right? Well, you better believe they would like step up. And I'm not singling out Pakistan. I'm just saying that's an example, right, of where sometimes our priorities are a little mixed up. When you see, okay, 1.5 million children die every year of sanitation, and it's a solvable problem. It's not something that is, it's not a mystery, right? It's just, okay, where are we putting our resources, right? And so, yeah, and we talk about, close to 40% of the world's population don't have a toilet. A toilet has 2.5 times the health benefit that clean water does, right? So all these statistics are facts, and then it becomes, okay, well, what do you do about it? Well, government's not a very effective, efficient vehicle to solve a lot of these issues. It really comes down to a lot of grassroots organizations, NGOs, like Zulu Humanitarian, right? It's an NGO, right? And those are the people that actually get the job done on boots on the ground, so to speak, right? So anyway, yeah, so that's something. I'd be happy to send you, Charles, a copy of Rose's book. I always give them out. We send them to people because it's something. If you really want to dive deep on the subject, I mean, you could always go to Zulu.org and check out our statistics on our website. But if you want a good bathroom book, right, literally, her book is great, and you could also buy the book through our website too. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, wow. Something that we're passionate about, and I'm in it. I'm in it up to here.
Yeah, you're in to stay. So very cool cause, and I'm gonna make sure to support. I think you and we talked about like me doing ultra runs and raising money for charity. Pretty much in my backyard, I have a park here, and just crunching these Ks. And I'd love to do an addition for you folks. So let's plan that. And we'll surely read the book as well. Where can people find out more about you, Darin, and about Zulu?
Just Zulu.org, ZULOO.org. That's our website, and they could dive deep. You can see links to the Zulu Poodcast there. We post them at Zulu.org, but obviously the Poodcast is YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I mean, the podcast is really everywhere to tune into that. We try to publish every other week a new episode, and so you can subscribe to that. But yeah, Zulu.org is where they can learn everything you'd want to know about the topic generally, and then obviously Zulu specifically. So we'd welcome anybody. We'd love to engage with you, whether it's social media as well. We're active on Twitter or X now, and Instagram. We try to be everywhere. Right? It's a challenge, right? As you know, Charles, to be everywhere.
Yeah,
it's also easy to be everywhere as well. I mean, we're really blessed to be in a time and age where we do have global communication. We're able to really reach people that we otherwise 20 years ago would never meet. It's great.
Right. Right. Amazing times, challenging times too. But yeah, that's definitely a cause worthwhile checking out and evaluating. I mean, guys, you've heard the stats, 1.5 million deaths on cholera. It affects young ladies as well, and it creates a bunch of issues. I think it's a top priority, and Bill Gates also identified it. Bill and Melinda Foundation, Melinda and Bill, whatever.
Yeah.
They clearly said, that this is a huge problem. So much so that Gates created a competition to create the best toilet. So really important cause right there. Thank you, Darin. This was Charles Cormier, your host at CEOwisdompodcast.com. And I was at Darin Mangum.